Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. So today I'd like to discuss a comment that I received in yesterday's video. This will probably be one of the most disliked videos I've ever created on this channel for expressing a very unpopular opinion. This is in response to my video where I said that we won in Minnesota. We got the right to repair bill signed by the governor, and it had a minimal amount of poison pills in it. And I talked about how thankful I was to the people who helped me get it done, as well as the lobbyists that I hired. And this was a comment. It says, so, lobbying. It's bad and just legal bribery when they do it, but okay when we do it? And I said, I didn't do any bribery. That's not what lobbying is. Lobbying is whenever you go to a senator's office on behalf of a particular cause and explain why a piece of legislation is good or bad. Then either try and get them to not pass a bill or to pass a bill based on that particular thesis. Really, that's what lobbying is. I've done lobbying in the past. When I went to Albany to talk about the right to repair bill with all the different assembly people there, was I not lobbying? I was showing up to their offices. I was explaining my point of view. I was explaining why I think this legislation would be good for both my industry and consumers and society as a whole. And I was suggesting that they pass my piece of legislation. I was lobbying. Another trip that I did that was a lobbying trip, me going there in 2018 with a bunch of people that I knew from school districts, from medical device companies and everything else that wanted to see right to repair passed. We all showed up to different assemblymen's offices, different senators' offices to explain the benefits of this bill, why we thought it was good, why the opposition was wrong, and we encouraged them to get it passed. Were we not lobbying? Should we not be allowed to do that? Should we not be allowed to walk into a senator's office and say, here's why I think this bill is good? And then when they say, well, I need at least 8 people to be able to sign on to this, then try and figure out, okay, which 8 senators are the ones that are most likely to respond to this bill well, and how do I get them to do so? That's what I've been doing for over 8 years now on a regular basis. Now, I think what you guys are talking about when you're saying that lobbying is bad, you're talking about when they lie. So for instance, when Charlie Brown will say that we are going to install TikTok on people's phones, in spite of the fact that his own manufacturer is actually the one that's pre-installing TikTok on people's phones. You're mad when lobbyists lie to legislators and either get legislation passed or keep legislation from being passed that would be good for everyday people based on a lie. That I understand, but that is very different from what lobbying is. I show up to my state legislature with numerous other people from different groups. In Colorado, when you had the corn growers and the wheat farmers and the cattle farmers and all these different people, all these different groups showing up to the state legislative house to explain why the right to repair bill would be good. These groups were all lobbying. That's what they're doing. They are lobbying on behalf of their interest. There's nothing wrong with lobbying. There is nothing wrong with showing up to a state house and explaining to people, here's why I think this legislation is good. Here's why you should pass it. By the way, if you don't pass it, I'm going to make sure that every single one of your constituents knows that you didn't pass it and votes for your opposition. There's nothing wrong with that. That's supposed to happen. Now, many of the comments in that thread said, well, yeah, but when you're hiring a lobbyist, you're just hiring a middleman, and that's what's wrong. I also don't understand that part. I am hiring somebody who is a professional at this because I cannot be in Georgia and Minnesota and Missouri and Nebraska and Washington and New York all at the same time. I can't do that. I can't be in all these state legislatures. I can't time warp. And even if I did have the ability to fly back and forth, I have a job, I have a business, I have things that I have to do. So it's easier for me to pay somebody who's already there all the time to do this work for me. I pay somebody there who's going to know how this works. So if I have this particular bill that I want to get passed, that person whose job it is to know everybody in the legislature is going to know, okay, if we need 8 senators to say yes to this, I know exactly which of the 8 senators are going to be the ones that would say yes to this, and I know the ones that we shouldn't waste our time on. I'm paying for them to have that level of expertise and familiarity with the legislature, with the personalities involved. If they think that this would be better done via an omnibus package versus an individual bill because there's somebody who's the head of a particular committee that would hold it up if it was its own bill, that's knowledge that I'm paying them for. And by the way, in the case of Shep Harris, was very, very, very useful. And without it, I would have not gotten anything done here at all. The same way that when you are looking to fix something, you may use me as a middleman because I have more information, I have more knowledge, I'm going to get it done more quickly than you will. It's easier for you to spend $200 than it is for you to spend 30 hours of your time learning how to do something that I can do inside of 10 minutes. You pay me to do it for you. The same thing is true here. I will pay a lobbyist to get that done for me. I will pay a lobbyist to professionally help me navigate that particular state legislature so that I don't waste a bunch of time barking up the wrong tree as I did for over 5 years when I was trying to get a right to repair bill done and I didn't get anything passed. Now, with Bribery, that I can kind of get. There was one particular senator that was open to listening to the people on the right to repair side, and he canceled the meeting with us. And then when you look on followthemoney.org, one of the things that we found out is that the opposition lobbyist who was hired by AT&T had donated approximately $3,000 to that senator's campaign right at the time that they canceled their meeting with us. I went over that in this video. Nebraska farmers don't vote for senators Kim Roback bought and paid for. Now, here's the thing. Here's the part that makes this really, really tricky and why it's very difficult to just pass a law that says no this. If you say no lobbying, how are you going to define that? Does that mean that myself and Jessa Jones and this teacher that worked at the Fieldston School and this guy who works on medical equipment for a living, does this mean all of us can't walk into our local legislator's office and explain to them why we think something should be good? If we're not allowed to lie, here's the part that's really, really difficult. Because again, as I'm saying over here, this person lied. The fact that we have a disagreement on what the truth is why we are arguing in a legislature to begin with. You think this is true. I think that is true. One of us is probably wrong. We're going to argue. Now, if I tell what I believe is the truth and you tell what you believe is the truth, and one of us is going to get in trouble as a result of it, one of us is going to be held in contempt, one of us is going to get a $100,000 fine, one of us is going to be put in prison, do you think more people are likely to be active in their legislative body? More people are going to be civically engaged? Or do you think less people will be civically engaged? Less people will show up to the legislature? Less people will take part in government? Probably less. Do you think that's good or bad? Probably bad. Now, do I think that there should be some sort of penalty for acting in that way? Should there be a cost? Absolutely. I think it should be societal. I think it should be cultural. If you are making crap up, if you are reading off of a script, a bunch of crap that you know to be bullshit to a bunch of legislators, I do think there should be a social cost for doing that. I genuinely believe that that man and the person sitting next to him should have to pay a societal cost for saying stuff that is bullshit to a legislator. Do I believe that there should be the threat that you're going to be fined, jailed, or put in prison because while fighting for what you believe to be true, you said something that was not true in the pursuit of the actual truth? No, because that'll mean that less people show up at the legislature than the people that already do. And one of the things I've pointed out in many of these videos over the years is the hardest thing to actually do is get somebody to show up. The hardest thing to do is actually have more than one person in the room that takes the time out of their day to go to the legislator to talk about right to repair to begin with. Because people have jobs, people have families, people have lives. We already have the fact that you have to have two people work in the house nowadays rather than one just to be able to afford your mortgage, your property tax, and your food bill. It's already hard enough to get people to show up to a legislative body without punishing them for saying things that would be untrue. So do I think that this person should be held accountable? Absolutely. I think they should be held accountable socially, not legally, by saying that if you say something that is not true inside of the legislative hearing, that you are now going to be tossed in jail or have to pay a $100,000 fine or something personally. People disagree all the time. The fact that we have a disagreement is the precise reason that we are going to the legislative office, the reason we're going to the senator and the governor and the assembly person looking to get something passed, because we have a disagreement here. So let's just bring up a case that's kind of an edge case. If you were against COVID lockdowns and you were against COVID lockdowns because you were against people's freedoms being limited, you were against the repercussions that were going to occur in the economy, and you just thought from a philosophical point of view this is wrong. If you went to the legislative house and you said, here's why I am against this law, and also when it comes to these statistics about the spread of the virus and this, that, and the other, and the death rate, here's why I disagree. Let's say that your number was off by a little bit. Should what you have done be considered illegal because your numbers disagreed with their numbers? Should you not be allowed to advocate for what it is that you believe in? Who defines a lie? Because this is, again, when you just take a look through YouTube, when you look at the comments in any video regarding politics, what somebody thinks is a lie is very often in conflict. And there's a disagreement about what people think is a lie. He is saying what he thinks could happen. And theoretically, what he is saying, that independents could install TikTok on people's phones, Technically, if you give us the password, we technically could install TikTok on your phone. Do we do that? No. Does he have evidence of people doing that? No, but he's saying that they could. Now, the fact that his manufacturer just so happened to start pre-installing it a few months later, yeah, it's annoying. But should what he did be something, again, how do you craft that law? How do you craft a law that says that somebody who is advocating on behalf of a particular piece of legislation should be put in the slammer if they say something that I believe is not true? And what would that do to people actually going to the legislature? Again, if I thought that if I misspoke, if I said something that happened to not be true based on a scientific study of some sort, do you think that I would feel as comfortable showing up to the legislative house to advocate on behalf of right to repair? No, that would probably scare the crap out of me. That would keep me from going there. Now, when it comes to money, I completely understand why someone is mad that an AT&T lobbyist got to give a senator $3,000, and after getting the $3,000, they got rid of the bill. How many people here have supported Bernie Sanders? How many of you have ever supported Donald Trump? How many of you have supported Ron DeSantis? I'm imagining at some point, some segment of the audience, based on the fact that this video will probably get 10,000 views or more, some of you raised your hand. Now, of those people, how many of you have ever donated to that campaign? Like, not a lot, like $1, $2, $10, $30, $100. Okay. How many of you hoped that as a result of that person staying in office, that they would propose legislation that was in line with your philosophical, economic, legislative, and moral priorities? Is that illegal? You're allowed to give money to a politician in the hopes that that will allow them to stay in office, in the hopes that them staying in office will make sure that you get what you want, whether that's a wall built or Medicare for all or whatever the hell it is that you're looking to get from voting for that politician and seeing them win. How do you make this illegal without doing it in a way that screws it up for everybody else? This is a very difficult thing to do. The real honest-to-God problem that I believe that we have is not that lobbying exists. Lobbying is simply showing up to a state house and explaining why you think a law should be. The fact that lobbyists are allowed to say outlandish things to legislators is not the problem. Because at some point, you will say something wrong to a legislator. I may get something wrong if I am talking off the cuff and I have 3 minutes and there's a camera on me and I'm nervous. I don't think that because I say something that isn't 100% correct that I should be sent off to the slammer as a result of it or get a fine of $10,000 or $50,000 for it. I don't think that's right because that's going to discourage people from actually showing up to their state house as is. And if you've seen any of my videos, my biggest complaint in all these videos is that nobody shows up to the state house without there being a penalty on whether you say the wrong thing in front of a legislative body. And I don't even think the money part, and this is what's going to be really unpopular, is the thing. Should Kim Roback not be allowed to donate $3,000 to a senator? No, because that would keep us from being able to also donate to a politician that we want to see get elected so they can put forth our legislative priorities. The problem at the end of the day is that the politicians listen to them. The problem is not that this man is able to sit up here and tell everybody that we will install TikTok on people's phones, and because we install TikTok on people's phones, rights of repair should not be a thing. He is not the problem. At the end of the day, as much as I will crap on Charlie Brown, he is not the issue. The issue is every single one of the mofos sitting in front of him that listened to him, thought this was a good enough reason to kill the bill, and killed the bill. The problem are the politicians that we are voting for, and the problem is that we do not have enough engagement in the process. When you look at the people who voted in the last election in Texas for the governor, when you look at the number of people who are eligible to vote in the state, and the number of people that actually voted in the state, that's your problem. The lack of voter engagement, the lack of civic engagement is why all of this stuff happens, because nobody is paying attention. When you have somebody that says out loud, I'm not kidding, the game will play the console, and that person is actually able to have authority over us, that is because the politicians are choosing to listen to fools instead of us. The problem are the politicians we choose to elect, but above all, it's the fact that most of us are not choosing to elect anybody at all. Most of us sit idly by and then complain about the results rather than actually being genuinely engaged. I don't think lobbying should be illegal. Because if lobbying is illegal, what the hell am I supposed to do? How do you think we got any of this done? What do you think I was doing back in 2015 when I made this video? What do you think I was doing back in 2018 when I recorded us showing up here and talking to all these different people? I was lobbying. Is there anything wrong with that? No. I'm not bribing anybody. Just to be clear here, what I'm paying for when I'm paying for lobbying services is for them to figure out what the problems are that different politicians have with this bill, what compromises need to be made, which people I should be making my pitch to and which people it would be a waste of time to make my pitch to, and what the procedural route should be. Should I go for a normal bill? Should I try to get it done as a part of an omnibus package? And to make sure that somebody is in the ear of every single legislator that I don't have the time to be in, because I cannot be in 90 places at once and run a business and a YouTube channel and a nonprofit and have a full-time job. There's only so much I can do. That's what I'm paying for. I don't have enough money to afford the lobbyist that's going to take people to Fogo de Chao and slide a $5,000 check under the table. I'm not doing any bribery here. But do I think lobbying should be illegal? Absolutely not. If you're mad at the way the system currently works, look at your shit politicians and vote them the fuck out of office. Because, like, for instance, in this one right over here, this example that I'm using, this one, you can see that Kim Roback gave that senator, Bob Christ, over $3,000. That is public data. I do believe the law should be that you should have to report who you are getting your donations from in these particular instances. And you can see that publicly. If people saw that this hearing that is made open to the public, that he was very soft on the manufacturers, that he then took over $3,000 of AT&T money right before the hearing, and that he ignored us, all of that's public information. If people choose to vote for that senator after that, I'm not blaming the lobbyist. I'm blaming the voter. Because the voter kept that person in office. The voter didn't hold that person accountable. And in 2023, the levels of civic engagement that we have, again, just in my state, when I look at the number of people that voted in the last election for governor, it was crap. It was crap. So many of the people that were eligible to vote, a majority of the people that were eligible to vote, didn't actually vote. And then we complain that this is the result that we get. If you want the results to be different, be engaged. Understand what is going on in your community. Understand the issues that matter to you and figure out why they are not getting done. And then tell those people that if they continue to do what they do, you are voting them the F out. You will happily vote for their primary challenger. That is necessary. This idea that just because I'm lobbying, I'm bribing people. I'm not bribing people. I'm paying people to advocate for my interests. And you should be happy to have people that are advocating for your interest. You should be happy that you have the right in the United States of America to show up to a politician's office and tell them exactly what it is you think about an issue without having to deal with any personal repercussions because they disagree with you or because you got something wrong. That's freedom of speech, and I'm happy it exists. The problem is not with the lobbyists. The problem is with the politicians that listen to them and the people that keep voting those people into office. When people say that we need to have term limits and this, that, and the other because this person can't keep winning. Why do you think they keep winning? Because you keep voting for them. Stop voting for people that do this and start voting them out. That's just my rant for the day. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think that I have become a sellout because I am okay with lobbying? Or do you think that this makes sense because, as I've been saying, I have literally been lobbying the entire time that I've been doing this? And, yeah, again, it's not lobbying that should be illegal. I definitely think that the conduct should be frowned upon. If you are going out of your way to mislead people and scare them, this conduct should be frowned upon. I think that there should be a social stigma attached to what this man did. I think that there should be a social stigma attached to what the woman next to him did from the ESA. I think that there should be some sense of shame involved in going on live television and lying in this way to scare legislators out of passing consumer protection legislation. But there's a difference between what I think there should be a societal shame for and what is illegal. If you cheat on your girlfriend or your boyfriend, again, do I think that you deserve to get some dirty looks? Absolutely. Do I care if you have trouble getting a mate in the future because everybody at your college or your work knows that that's the person you are? Not at all. Should it be illegal? No. I don't think it should be illegal. I think that it's our job to hold people accountable. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.